Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics, and in this video, after the MAGA faithful realise that they've created a bit of a monster in welcoming Musk's money, I'd like to discuss whether Reform UK supporters may experience the same buyer's remorse in a few years' time. Because Musk has gone completely off the rails. He's not a political beast anyway, but he has abandoned all sense of uniting the MAGA support base this weekend because he no longer sees value in it. Will this cause problems for Reform UK down the line? But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So Reform UK are basically the British version of MAGA, of course, run and funded by the wealthy, privileged establishment who claim to be anti-establishment and on the side of ordinary people left behind by mainstream politics. These ordinary people who flock to them never seem to think to themselves, how come everyone who's leading this movement that claims to be anti-establishment is very wealthy, very privileged, very establishment? Because there's a fundamental gulf between what these groups claim to stand for and what they really intend. They claim to want to empower ordinary people, but in reality, they just want to squeeze them to feed their billionaire mates. We've seen this weekend. The MAGA supporters who've suddenly been caught off guard by their own side, with Musk wanting to make it easier to hire immigrants for his businesses. MAGA personalities have called him out. Then, rather than try to be diplomatic, because Musk could have said, oh, this is only a small amount. Immigration's totally going to come down. I understand, why you're a bit upset about it. There's no attempt to build a bridge there. He's basically triggered a war with MAGA. Now, some MAGA supporters who were more than happy to accept Musk's money and co-opting of Twitter have now decided he's their number one threat. They still don't seem to realise that Trump is on the side of the tech bros around him. So they still haven't realised that they've been played yet by their messiah. But the cracks are starting to appear. Because, of course, MAGA are coming back to power. It's worth pointing out, Trump didn't deliver anything he promised for ordinary supporters during his first term. He did some things he promised to do, but not that benefited ordinary supporters. The idea that he's going to do so in his second term is for the birds. He's already admitted he's not going to be reducing grocery prices now. And it's still weeks before his government even assembles. But just at the same time as ordinary MAGA are starting to realise that maybe billionaires don't actually have the interests of poor people at heart, Reform UK are welcoming the idea that they may be able to elicit some donations and Twitter love from Elon Musk. And Farage is, of course, much the same as Trump in motivation. I mean, Farage isn't a billionaire himself, unlike Trump, but he still acts in the interest of the very wealthy. He enjoys the high life himself. Now, Farage is not going to win the election. He's not going to win power, which means, in theory, in isolation, he can carry on being all things to all people. He doesn't get found out. Over Brexit, for example, although he doesn't want to talk about it much, he said all these wonderful things will come if we leave the EU. And then the opposite, it's not just that they didn't happen, the opposite happened. And you put it to him, you say, but Brexit gave the government the opportunities, they just failed to take them. So he just blames someone else. And he gets away with it because he wasn't in power. He can say that he will increase investment in public services, even as his other Reform UK MPs talk about slashing public spending so that they can reduce taxes. All things to all people. Simple solutions to everything from the cost of living to immigration. But MAGA are about to control a G7 government. Could the way they behave be noticed by ordinary Reform supporters? Especially if the MAGA influencers on social media increasingly call out what Trump's government is actually doing as opposed to what they claim to do. Because you may reasonably argue, and I've thought about this, but Trump's already been in power once and his supporters still supported him, right? He didn't lose support just because he didn't deliver. Why? I suppose blaming other people for this lack of delivery, or that he needed more time or something like that. But Musk is making that very difficult because Musk he's driving a wedge between Trump's government and the MAGA support. And even if those MAGA personalities are still blaming Musk alone rather than Trump, It's Musk who is hinting that he might bankroll Reform UK here in Britain. Because it's not like Musk is even trying to keep MAGA on side. As far as he and others like him are concerned, they've won now. They don't need MAGA anymore. They've used them. They've expended them. They don't seem to see any advantage in putting any effort in to downplaying MAGA fears to keep them on side. Go to hell. That is both the literal words and sentiments that Musk has directed towards them. Trump is not aggressive towards them, of course, but he's also made it clear that he is siding with Musk on this immigration issue, even though the plans to deport huge numbers of undocumented migrants is still part of the plan. Well, if there's a bit of a flashpoint with Reform UK commentary, so there are major social media commentators who support Reform UK, right? What if they start siding with MAGA against Musk? Will Space Karen shut them down as well? What will they then have to say about Musk's bankrolling of Reform UK on other platforms where Musk has no power? Are they going to urge a bit of restraint from Farage in getting too close to Musk? You know, Musk at the moment is making himself public enemy number one for MAGA. Doesn't that translate across to Reform UK? After all, they think, Reform UK think they're this massive people-powered movement, don't they? Do they really need Musk's millions if he's going to be the enemy of MAGA and by extension the interests of ordinary Reform voters who see their interests as being very aligned? The fact that Musk is not even pretending to care about MAGA's core beliefs, actually insulting them for them, now that he thinks he no longer needs their support, that's got the potential to cast doubt on what Reform UK really stand for. I mean, right now, as I'm sure some of the comments in this video will confirm, Reform supporters are delighted with Musk. Oh, I'm completely wrong. He's the bee's knees, right? He helped win the election for Trump, and they see him putting similar efforts in for Reform UK. But they may not have caught up with his recent shenanigans stateside. How are they going to feel about him when they do? And if Musk really drives a very deep wedge between himself and MAGA as 2025 rumbles on, but Trump continues to stick by him, at least for a while, because I don't think anyone thinks that Trump's going to drop Musk quickly, will that mean Farage gets questioned about the Trump government's moves to make it easier for the billionaires around him to hire foreign workers? Because that's a bit of a red line when it comes to both MAGA supporters and Reform UK supporters. You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's a lot this Trump government are likely to do which could pose some tricky questions for Nigel Farage in the next few years, but before the next general election in the UK. Is he prepared for those questions? Because when you consider the way he has melted down so readily when asked difficult questions so far this year, something he has previously not been used to, I'm going to guess he's just sort of hoping that everything works out all right in America under Trump. But Farage's main asset is that he's a backseat driver in politics. He gets to say what people should do. And yes, I recognise that applies to me as well. He gets to say what people should do, but he's never in the position to do it. So he can always claim, even when a government does what he says, he can still say, yeah, but they didn't do it right. But MAGA are going to be in charge. So is it really going to work out all right under Trump? That's a fairly optimistic attitude to have at the best of times, but especially so now that Musk is openly attacking MAGA personalities and the MAGA mindset. After all, who do Reform UK supporters most identify with? Musk and his tech bros or ordinary MAGA supporters? Right now, they imagine that they're all part of the same happy family. They don't have to think about it. But they are not all part of the same happy family. They are at war with each other. And the thing about supporters of populist movements is you are compelled to take sides in any dispute, no matter how minor. Once they discover this dispute, whose side will they be on? But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I'll see you later.